Hello, my name's Melling and I'm about to walk up the new line up to Bacup. Now we're starting off here. This is the bridge where the line used to come off to the original Yorkshire Street viaduct, and we're going to try to find some traces of it as we continue up to Bacup. So we'll just introduce you to different sections, what we find along the way. Right, we're now at the junction of Healey and the River Roach. Now if you look behind me, you'll see this footbridge which has been put in. This was the original viaduct route. It comes down from the industrial estate, from the section which we've just shown you, works its way through a nature path and then crosses the River Roach at this point. So we're going to continue around to the other side of the river now to see what we can find on our way to Wardleworth. Hello again. Well, after a rather hectic walk uphill, trying to trace the old viaduct, we've followed it as far as the site of Wardleworth railway station. And you can see the original abutments for possibly the entrance to the station. We've got one on this side, one on that side, very original. At the back you can see the incline. The line would have actually been along the top of there, and this would have been part of the station and goods yard leading up to the actual line level.
Back at the station again. This is the main goods yard, where the old mill, used to be an old mill siding. You can see in the background where the line went up.
Right, we're at the junction street of Taylor Street now, just above what used to be Wardleworth station. If you look behind, you've got the wall. The track was just at the back of this wall. Now, over this wall, at this section, it went under a tunnel under Taylor Street. So if you just follow me around, you can see where the track bed used to continue. Now we've walked round the corner to Taylor Street now, and we've got the bridge abutment here where the railway line used to pass under. This is north of Wardleworth. If you look behind me, you can follow the track bed up. It veers to the right slightly and sweeps round to the left. So we can see it's been turned into a tractor flower garden with a path following the side, possibly the original railway line following the line. Hello again. Now we've crossed the Rugby Road section now, north of Wardleworth. We're heading towards Healey Dell. This section of the track bed is quite visible. In fact, it's a walkway for pleasure walkers. And this is the initial section of Healey Dell. So we should be able to follow this up quite a long way before you can't recognise it as a track bed. Well, we're quite a fair bit on our journey now. We've got Whitworth Road behind us. As you see, they've opened the tunnel up and we're still on the Healey Dell nature trail. They've done an excellent job of it. You can follow it both ways. If you'd like to look down there where we've come, it's quite interesting. And then we've got to enter the tunnel then and move over to Healey Dell, going over the famous viaducts of course. So if you just follow me. Well, it's got a bit colder now, so I'll put my hat on. But we're on the Healey Dell nature trail, and if you can look down this way you can see where we've come from. They've made it into a lovely walking path. And behind me, this was a branch to one of the mills, an industrial branch for supplying cotton or whatever materials they had up here. If you look down this way, this is the way we're going to walk. There's been a bridge taken out here. You can see the stonework round the side in the undergrowth. But this is the type of area which you'd find, which they do when they landscape and they take bridges out. Well, it's a bit sad this part really. This is the site of the old Shawclough station. You can see the returning wall going down the hill. This is where the original track bed would have been on the other side of the wall. But sadly, we've got modern housing now. Modern housing estates took over the track bed. So we have to walk along the road for this next section. Right, we're farther down on the Shawclough section now. If you can see the returning wall behind me, it steepens as the line used to follow the line of it behind this. Shawclough station being at the back, and the freight yard, the goods yard, would have been actually at the back of this wall. So we've got to continue down here now to where possibly a bridge exists. Well, we're above Shawclough now. It's been quite interesting really, because we've been in somebody's garden down there. They invited us in and shown us where the old track bed used to go. Unfortunately, they've put a lawn on top of it. We've walked up the walkway. If you'd like to look behind, you can see they've turned this section into a walkway, which is quite interesting. But I'm actually stood on the site of where there was a small bridge used to go over here. Remember, this was a single track railway bed. They've actually carried the walkway along with a new bridge. But you can see the abutments from the original bridge. It must have been quite an interesting area really, 30, 40 years ago. We're getting deeper into the Healey Dell section now. You can see part of the railway returning wall behind me. It's well preserved. It's quite lovely. I mean, from an environmental viewpoint, from a nature viewpoint, we've got some lovely lichen and mosses growing on the walls here because it's all quite damp. And if you look at the line that goes through this cutting, I mean, we've seen quite a lot of bird life, some really interesting bird life, and it's absolutely gorgeous here. It's lovely. Oh, we just found an old Lancashire and Yorkshire stone implement here, a mileage marker. Well, we finally made it up to Healey Dell, the famous viaduct, which is the main feature on the new line, as it's called, from Rochdale to Bacup. It was built in the late 1800s. It's still a magnificent site. You could actually walk across it as part of the nature trail, which is what we're going to do. If you'd like to look up at the spans though, there's quite a bit of architecture there, and when you consider the methods they had in those days to build this type of structure, quite phenomenal, and a monument to them, the fact it's still standing. Incredible, isn't it? It's not swirling. Right, we're on top of the viaduct now. As you can see, it's been turned into a walkway and cycle path. In fact, you've got some cyclists coming across. But it's marvellous what they've done at it. This was a single track that used to take the road up to Bacup, the railroad. Right, well, we're 4.9 miles into the walk now. I'm feeling it a bit, as you can see, I'm sweated. We've just walked up from the Healey Dell viaduct, which is, as you can see, the pathway goes straight in one straight line, basically. We've got to this road bridge now, which is quite interesting, because on the other side of this road bridge is the site of Broadley Station. It was a single platform on the left hand side, and the platform's still there, so we can go and have a look at it then. So if you'd like to follow me. Well, this is the site of Broadley Station. As you can see, the platform's still intact. It's probably the most significant piece of station which is still left on the route. The signal box used to be where the gap is between the platform. It was only a single track station. And then we have some signs of the station buildings at the back. These are where the actual buildings used to be. I'm actually stood in what used to be Broadley Station toilet. This was the gents' toilet. The stones are still down here, and this would have been the way in. The old flagging's still here. You know, it's quite unique to find something like this. That would have been the waiting room. There's a picture took from that end, and you can see the signal box actually sat in the middle of the platform. Right, we're above Broadley Station now. You can see there's an interesting structure here. This has been built by Rochdale Council as part of the nature reserve structure, but apparently it was a steel bridge that. It was part of a steel walkway. You can see the track bed where we've come, and we're carrying on up to Whitworth now, so if you'd like to follow me. Well, we're above Broadley now. This was the original holding sidings from the stone quarries. There was apparently two different industrial lines which used to climb up the side of the hill. One of them you can actually follow the sleepers. The sleepers are still embedded in the path. But the rest of it would have took this area where the marsh is now. And if you look behind, you can see the area what we've come from and where we're going to. So it just branched directly. It was at right angles to the main line actually. A little farther up the branch now. The weather's changed a bit now. It's getting quite nice and quite warm. We're above Healey Dell. We're actually approaching Whitworth Station, and we found this this lovely bridge. The nice thing about it is you can still see the steam, the carbon on top of the bridge parapet where the steam engines used to go through. So we'll continue along to Whitworth. Well, we've got as far as Whitworth Station. It's a bit sad really. We've got this massive croft housing estate right in the line of the station. That's where the station platforms would have been. The only sign that there's been a railway here is the wall along this side. There's a retaining wall which would have held the track bed on this side, but it's largely been turned into an estate. So, well, we found a building here at Whitworth which is quite interesting. It looks like it probably built by Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, so whether it's part of the goods yard system or not, we're not sure. Well, it's the only thing we've found here really, apart from the returning walls.
And it's a still.
Unfortunately, we've lost a line now north of Whitworth. We've found a tunnel area over here, which it looks like the line used to follow and go under a tunnel. But this, we believe, is the track bed. They've built a road on this section now. Possibly the railway line used to run along this side, and this new road's actually been built into the track bed. So we'll carry on following it and see what we can find next. Well, this is the site of what used to be Facet railway station. It's an housing estate. The road that goes through the middle of the housing estate has been built on the old track bed. It looks like we've got a bit of a reprieve up here. It looks like we might be able to find a little bit of track bed as we go beyond these fences in the distance. So just follow me and let's see what happens. This is the top end of the station yard. Not much left of it. We found this track at the side of the river which we can walk down. We can't actually get into the station site itself, but we're hoping to pick the track bed up as we follow the river up. Well, we've climbed up 8.3 mile from where we started in Rochdale now, and we're north of Facet and south of Britannia. We found an embankment what the railway used to go on. It's quite strange really, because there's an embankment supporting wall down at the bottom here, and they built houses in the line of the actual railway line. That's behind me, and we've just climbed up a bank here with a row of houses, and these are actually built on the embankment. So we've got to follow this path at the side of the houses, which will hopefully take us on to Britannia. So if you just keep following me. Well, as you can see, this is the old track bed. We built houses along it. And you can see the retaining wall from the railway. As I walk down here, there would have originally been a bridge just round the corner. It's been took out now, but it'll be interesting to see how we get on the other bank, because I think we can pick the track bed up there. Now I've walked down the road from that last section and we've got to where the actual bridge was. This would have possibly been a girder bridge across, but if you can see where the abutments are on each side, you can see the moorland nice and high in the background. So the railway is actually climbing the Britannia summit at this point. And you can imagine back in the 50s it must have been a hell of a sight seeing these steam engines climbing up this huge incline. So we'll carry on. Right, just separated the houses from the railway. So we're well onto the Britannia climb now. We've come over there, another second bridge which has been taken out, and this part's been turned into a path. So this is the track bed. We're back on the original track bed again. So if you'd like to walk this way. Well, we're still climbing up Britannia. There's some beautiful scenes, moorland scenes, retaining walls for the old railway. Plenty of bird life and wildlife up here. We've just heard a curlew over the moors. We've got another bridge abutment here. The railway's climbing quite steeply now, so if you just follow me. Well, we've got to an interesting section here. The line's levelled out now on the climb up to Britannia. There's been another bridge taken out behind us. You can still see the retaining wall, and there's been some prefabs, bungalow types houses built on top of the track bed. We've noticed a few of these on the walk up though. Now, there's like a stone structure behind us, and I think these are quarry areas when they were quarrying stones. And I would suspect, looking at the shape of these mounds, what they used to do was they'd park the railway wagon at the side here, because I'm stood on the track bed, and they'd probably push wagons up to load the railway wagons up this little ramp. if they were pushing rocks up, they can load it up the ramp and push them straight onto the wagons, and the shunter could just pull each wagon along as they loaded it. We've seen one or two of these, so we're going to have to read up on this, but I would suspect that's what they probably are. So if you just look behind us now, you can see where this next bridge has been taken up. Well, we've walked up the Britannia incline now. We've come to the station at Shawford station. They've built an housing estate on top of the station, but all the abutments are in place. This is possibly the station entrance. You've just seen the sign on the previous clip, which gives you some information about it. All the retaining walls are still up, including the goods yard at this section, as the road rounds off. So we're going to walk through the original station entrance now. And we're going to have a look what's up there, what they've actually built up there. So if you'd like to follow me. Well, what we're doing now is we're standing in the actual entrance for the goods yard for Shawcroft. We found one of the abutments. This would have been this one and that one on that side, which allowed you to drive up the path to the actual goods yard itself. The railway track bed continues overhead. You can just see the retaining wall there. So we basically took a wrong turn to come down here, so we're going to climb back up, get on top of the track bed, carry on to Britannia, so we'll walk this way. Well, I'm out of breath after that climb up to the goods yard. If you look back this way though, you can see the way we've come through Shawcroft station and the goods yard. We've managed to find a piece of track bed now. Hopefully this will take us all the way up to Britannia, but it's quite steep from here. If you look the way we're going to go, you can see another nice railway remnant. They've actually got a walkway girder bridge there, birdcage girder bridge. So if you'd just like to follow me. Well, this hill up to Britannia is getting quite steep now. Feeling the strain a little bit. We've still got a long way to go. Right, well, we've got to the top of the Britannia incline. This is the climb we've just made. You can see most of it's been landscaped now from when we got from Shawford. Here's one of the Britannia bridges. This was a circular bridge, basically. Once we get to the other side, we can pick the old track bed. Britannia station used to be farther down near the two twin girder bridges. Right, well, I'm standing on the side of the bridge what used to go over Britannia station now. This used to be the twin girder bridge, twin block girder bridge. There's part of the abutment still visible on one side of it. The station was below this though. It's all been filled in now to make room for a walkway. We've just walked down this section, so we're going down towards Bacup now. And we're going to follow the track bed as it used to continue this way. It used to be a little bit wider down here because there was quite a lot of industrial sidings at one time. But if you just follow me down into Bacup now. Right, well, we've travelled down from Britannia now, down the incline on the Bacup side. And this is the path down to Bacup, down to the engine shed junction. And we found this lovely rural bridge on the way down. It's still pretty much intact really. So if you'd like to follow me down to the bottom end of the line. We've come to quite an interesting area here now, just past the last clip where we're showing you the rural bridge. It was quite clever, our Victorian engineers, because what they've done is they must have blasted this cutting out of solid rock. And it's quite hard, it's granitic rock, it's granite rock round here. And to support the banking, they've actually built stone walls below the rock to hold the soil back to prevent erosion. So this is a lovely little cutting down here. So just follow me down here. Well, we've just walked down this lovely gorge, this excellent cutting. We've got to the bottom of the incline and we found another lovely, like under and over type bridge. Quite an high bridge really, it's nice to still find it. So we're nearly in Bacup now, we've just got a little way to go now, so if you just like to keep following me. And this is a new line, this is the car park and moving in towards Bacup. They still refer to it as the new line, even though it's been closed 30 years. But we can still follow it a little bit farther down the hill to where Bacup engine shed used to be. So if you just like to continue the walk. Well, we lost a line on the other side near the sign for new line, and it took us a bit to pick it up. But we found a cut in here which we've seen from the road. You can see it's been blasted out the rock a long time ago. We've actually found a tunnel entrance. This is the southern porthole facing the Britannia incline, which comes down to Bacup. So the tunnel's still being used for industrial purposes, but that tunnel would have gone straight through the main road to the new line to Britannia. So this industrial estate now, it's actually called New Line Industrial Estate, and this is where the railway track would have gone. So we've got to follow it through the industrial estate and see what we can pick up at the bottom end. So this is where the actual engine shed, the buildings used to be, amidst all this tree work. Now this area behind me, this was the actual engine shed, this was the buildings where the buildings was. You will see on the pictures which we're going to superimpose on this video after what it used to look like 30 years ago. But this is the site now, what you're looking at. I'm just stood in the middle of a big industrial estate. This was the site of the actual Bacup engine shed and goods shed. This is the sidings, this is the industrial estate which now occupies the site of the original sidings on the Rochdale line from Bacup. It's part of New Line Industrial Estate. So if we're nearly down there now, we'll just follow it down at about another quarter of a mile. Now looking in this direction is New Line Industrial Estate, which we've just walked through. There was a girder bridge here at one point which would have crossed the road onto this grass section. The area what I'm stood on now is actually the track bed again. We're back down on the track bed, and if you follow this path down into the trees, that's the track bed which will now take us down to the side. Now we've just come down from the bottom of the incline from New Line Industrial Estate. It's a bit of a rugged path, but you can still follow the track bed, and you can see signs of the original sleepers at the side of the track bed. Now the track bed goes down here, these buildings in front, it's another industrial estate. The line then sweeps off to the left. It crosses a bridge which you've got to see on the next clip, goes into the shed yard and then joins up with the main line from Rochdale into Bacup. So if you just keep following me. Now where I'm stood now is this goes over the brook. This is the railway bridge where the track used to go from Britannia to Bacup. It used to go through these gates, what's now the industrial estate, and curve off to the right into Bacup station. If you look at the church steeple over there, the tunnel which comes up from Rochdale comes under the church, it comes under the park. And the tunnel porthole at this end, which was at the side of the engine shed, is actually visible behind these buildings. We'll try to track that down later, but at the moment we've got to follow this curve round and look at the site of where Bacup railway station used to be now. So if you just like to follow me up the hill. We're now in Bacup, we've actually followed the line to the end. This is where we parked our cars up this morning, so we don't have to walk back there today because it's been a long walk. The line we've just followed onto the bridge onto the engine shed industrial estate is down here. The line then curved round the valley into the view you can see now. All these warehouses, especially the light blue ones, are the site of Bacup railway station. If you can see far right over the horizon to the blue gates, near the two containers, that was the station entrance. And this is what's become of it now. The blue gates are the farthest limit of the station, and we're now looking into what used to be the engine shed yard, completely turned into an industrial estate. We're going to backtrack at this point, and we're going to show you where the line down to Rochdale used to pass from the engine shed. So we're going to find the northern porthole of the line which goes back down to Rochdale. So if you just like to follow us up the track. Right, I'm actually stood at the northern porthole now of the tunnel for Bacup. The engine shed used to be directly behind the cameraman, and if you can look, the porthole's actually sealed up. It's got a lovely design, a lovely brickwork design. We're going to take you through to the other side of the tunnel, which is used as a council storage area now, the tunnel itself. But this area with the retaining wall, it's quite magnificent really, because it holds a considerable amount of bank back, because there's a church and there's a park and all sorts behind this wall. Right, now I'm at the southern porthole now of the Bacup tunnel. That's the last tunnel on the line from Rochdale to Bacup. So this is the other part of the line. Behind me you'll see some bridges quite intact. Still intact, iron girder bridges. These take you up to the southern porthole, which is going to be on the next clip. Travelling in this direction, which is south, you would eventually finish up at Stackstead and then carry on to the East Lancashire Railway at Bacup. But we're going to actually continue over this bridge, over these girder bridges, onto the southern porthole of the tunnel. That's the opposite side of the tunnel from what we've seen in the previous clip. So if you just like to follow me. Right, we've come up the track bed a little bit farther now. This is the southern porthole of the Bacup tunnel. That's the other end of the tunnel entrance, which we've shown you on a few clips ago. There used to be a signal box. There's a little bit of a abutment there, stone abutment, where the signal cabin used to be. You can still see it on the old pictures. This is the last bridge over the river before we go into Bacup. Well, here we are, down the end of the line. We're at Bacup. This is the old station sign. There's the blue gates behind. Here's the old retaining walls. This would have been the way down to the station. This building's actually occupying the site. So, if I just check my pedometer, they've done 13.4 miles to walk up here, which is normally only 7 miles on the train, but with the diverting and walking around the hills and exploring tunnels. So I hope you've enjoyed this series. Tune in again for series 2 of Melling's Tracks, and I shall now walk down to Rochdale again. So bye bye for now.